Hello, Book Talk. It is time for my next live chat in my interview series. And this time we are talking to author Allison Boley. So I am going to get on and invite her over, and hopefully we'll be chatting her journey, her books, and all the things in between. And do post your questions as we go through. So bear with me. I'm going to see if she's gone live yet so that I can invite her along as well. And we will get going. She's not quite here yet, so we are going to hold fire for a minute or two. And hopefully by the time that she's available, I will have some people watching and we'll be ready to fire. Do please post your questions in the comments. And remember, if you would like to be the star of my author interview show, or if you are a blogger, an editor, a cover designer, or anything in the world of the writing world, I would love to have you on the show. Links in bios, so do sign up to the Google form because I'd love to talk anything bookish. She's now live, so I'm going to invite Allison, so bear with me. There you are. How are you, my
Hello.
love?
Good. How are you?
Good. I am good, thank you. On this fine sunny day. Is it sunny where you are as well?
It is. Yeah, I'm in the Phoenix area, so it's like
Oh, always
113
sunny.
degrees here. Yes.
Do you ever get cold weather there?
We do. We have, like a couple days in December where it might be around 0 Celsius, but
Okay, a little
I
bit
don't
of
know if that
frost on the
qualifies as
ground,
cold.
and yeah. And have you always lived there?
Well, most of my life I was born and raised here. I lived a couple years in California, which is
Yeah.
not much cooler, but
No, well, that sounds like me because my family's actually American, and I spent a couple of years in California, but I spent most of my life here in the UK, which is why I sound like I'm a bit of a mutt, really. I have some weird things going on with my accent, but so I get what you mean. Yeah, California is, it used to be very dry, and the last few times I've been, it's gotten so humid that it's just as bad as England as well. But
how often
anyway,
do you go
that's enough
back?
about the weather.
Okay.
Unless you had something to say, you wanted to say about the weather. No.
No, I was just asking you how often you go back.
I go back to the States usually every 2 years. It's
Oh,
not
nice.
always to California. Actually, at Easter time, we were back in Florida, and we don't have any family in Florida, but we wanted to do Key West and the Everglades and that side of Florida, which we hadn't done before. So we did that. But yeah, my brother's in Boston, so
Oh, cool.
but we haven't been there for a few years. He's coming here this summer, so yeah, we try to get back every couple of years, and it's good for the boys. I've got 3 kids, for them to kind of understand where part of them came from, anyway.
Oh,
So
yeah.
their family and all of that. Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
So, Alison, for those people who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about you and your books and what you're working on?
Sure.
A little,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I don't remember a time when I didn't want to write. I kind of grew up wanting to be a physician who wrote novels, and that kind of got everybody's path changes, I think, along the way.
Yeah.
So when I was in high school, I checked out a book on television writing, and it had never really occurred to me that that was a job. Like I knew that it was fiction,
Uh,
but I didn't realize that someone actually wrote that, and I was like, well, I want to do that.
yeah.
So then I started going in that direction, and after I got I'm trying to do this in some kind of order. So I was still pre
That's
med.
right. Just let it come out how it comes
Okay,
out.
okay,
It's fine.
okay. So I was still like nominally pre med, so I took a bunch of science classes, but I majored in justice studies,
Okay.
which I thought was going to be like more criminal justice and like help me write murder mysteries and stuff, but it actually
Yeah.
really like changed my life. It was a lot of social justice and really
Right.
made me a better like human.
Yeah.
So
I can
I'm
see
really
that.
grateful. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really grateful for that degree.
Yeah.
But when you say I have a degree in justice studies, it also does look good. People don't really know what that means. So it looks
Well,
good
I
for a
think,
murder mystery writer
yeah.
as well.
And I think there's so many places you can go with a degree like that as well. So many
Yes.
avenues,
Yes.
especially in today's world.
Yes.
There are incredible opportunities there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
So I took
So
it and
let
I
me
went
just
to
clarify.
LA.
You wanted to
Yeah.
be a physician who also
Yes.
wrote novels.
Yes.
And I mean, that's amazing to think, most people like either want to have a career or they want to write novels. They don't want
Oh yeah,
like the both things. So, I mean, I can tell you're ambitious already,
a little bit, yeah.
It's incredible. So I love
I
that you
also had
wanted both. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Incredible.
also had a lot of health problems as a kid, and I mean, I still do, but
Yeah.
they're under control.
Sure.
So I think that was part of it too. Wanting to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I get that. I mean, I had always wanted to do psychology, and I did psychology as my
Oh really?
degree.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until, I always knew I wanted to be a psychologist. And even when I was 13 or 14 and my friends would tell me that, I would always be the person they came to for advice. But it wasn't until my late teens that I had my own mental health issues. But that also kind of spurred me on to be like, I want to be able to help people who feel like I do, as
Yes.
well. And it gives you more passion for your subject. So I totally understand when you've experienced something, how you want to give back and make the path easier for those who follow behind you, and
For
just
sure.
download what you know.
Yeah. Do you
Absolutely. Yeah.
find that, like, when because everyone came to you for advice, did you find that
Mhm.
that was useful to you when you started experiencing your own issues, or was it kind of the opposite, that like,
I
oh, I should be
think,
the one?
do you know, I've never thought about it quite like that before. But I think what was useful was that learning that there are different perspectives. So I
Mm,
learned that from quite an early age. And what was funny is that I was quite what I would consider a late bloomer in the romantic sense. Like, I didn't kiss my first person for till a long time. But I would have friends coming up and asking me, "Oh, what does it feel like to kiss a guy? Or how do you go and talk to a guy? Or how
mm.
do you do this?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know." Inside, I'm like, "I don't know," but practically, I would be able to give that advice. And
Oh
but
wow.
everyone's approach to these things, when you're a teenager, it's all about, well, us girls are always about, he's so cute, he's the.
Right, right.
um but you're able to give that advice depending on the person that you're talking to. And I think I
Mm,
have an intuition
mm,
about a certain amount of, like, my advice would be different depending on who I was talking to, because I would have an intuition about who they were and what they would feel comfortable about. And I think that's just something that I have. And I think
yeah.
it's absolutely something you can learn if you're going to go on doing psychology or counseling or any of those things. But for me, it was an instinct thing that I would just know how that person would feel most comfortable. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the things my friends picked up on,
Mm,
was this natural ability just to be able to say the right thing for them. I
that's
don't know.
great.
Then I think about, I've got 3 kids now, and I kind of think, oh, am I giving them the right advice? Do I know what to say to them when they've got exam stress? Or, I feel like my mom was always really good at that stuff. She always knew what to tell
Mm,
me.
mm-hmm.
And sometimes I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I think it's that confidence of youth and maybe the doubt of when you
Yeah.
get older.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah,
For
that's my
sure.
very long-winded answer.
No, but
There you
that's
go.
so interesting, because when you were
Yeah.
saying that, I was thinking, because one thing I've noticed, like, as I've gone back and watched your the replays of your lives, is you have that with your interviewees, like that connection.
Yes.
That so I, it's interesting to hear that you've had that all along.
Yeah, I think I've always been one of those people that can tailor my responses to the person. Even if there are times when I feel social anxiety, I like to be able to focus on the other person, and I
Hmm.
can tap into what they need, or
Hmm.
how to react to what they're saying, or where to put those pauses. And I think that's something that's always just been like a natural gift for me, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I've never struggled to do that. But then I also don't like long silences. So if there's
Yeah.
any like a silence, I would be a really bad lawyer, asking people questions. I wouldn't be able to give you that dramatic pause and wait for them just to, confess, because I'd be leading the witness.
Right. Right.
Yeah, totally, totally. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you write then, because
Okay.
we know you wanted to
So
do the position and you got the justice stuff. So tell us about what you
right.
write. Yeah.
So yeah, so I guess long story short, after that, so I moved to LA just in time for a writer's strike and a
Yeah.
recession. Almost ran out of money. Came back to Arizona.
Mm.
Got 3 degrees in physics, and now am like finished with that. And I'm like, now I feel like my life has arrived because I actually have the time to like get back into writing. So I'm
So,
working on
so,
my first novel.
so you went from wanting to be a physician, doing your degree in justice, going to pursue your writing, and
Yes.
then doing degrees in physics. How
Yes.
did you, was that a financial decision? Did you think, I'm going to
Partly.
park that for a while? Yeah. Yeah.
Because I thought, like, I had taken a physical chemistry class
Okay.
in all my pre-med stuff. It's not actually a pre-med class, but it was, very related.
Yeah.
And really loved it. Like quantum chemistry or quantum physics, which is basically the same thing, is like the math of an atom, and it's basically like math and imagination, which are like my two favorite things.
Yeah.
And so I just fell in love with it. And so financially, when it was looking like I wasn't going to be able to stay in LA, I was like, that's okay.
Yeah.
I know what I'm going to do.
I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I find this fascinating. I mean, I was a bit of a science geek at school. Writing didn't come to me until later, and but I but you're much smarter than I am. I can tell by what you've been studying. But
Or just a masochist.
the idea of that stuff always fascinates me. And I've got my 13-year-old son is fascinated by physics and those specific areas, dark matter, wormholes, all of that stuff. And I just think the concepts are so incredibly complicated, unless obviously you are familiar with them and you understand them and how it works. Because it's all, all that relativity just confuses everything, the way you think about it. And obviously we've only got theories until they're proven wrong. And my son was telling me about how Elon Musk apparently has got some thing that he wants to test that apparently can create wormholes so we can travel through space quicker. Now, I haven't looked to see if there's any truth in this, and I thought we were light years away from having stuff like that. But that's incredible. I mean, I don't want to be a test monkey, but it's incredible. So I think it's fascinating. So do you use these degrees in your writing?
Yes. So I know my area is not what everybody finds fascinating, right? Everybody
Okay.
loves like the outer space and stuff, but I've
Yeah.
noticed that like a lot of people look up and feel awe and wonder, that's what gets all the publicity. But I'm one of the people that looks down and feels awe
Okay.
and wonder. So
Okay.
I worked with electron microscopes, which
Right.
are the microscopes that take up the size of a room and use electrons
Right.
instead of light, and some of them can image individual atoms. So to me, that's what is very interesting. And I imaged and analyzed materials that could possibly be used to make solar panels in the future, make them more efficient,
Wow.
make them have less material, so it's less mining, all those kinds of things.
I might need to pick your brain later
Please
because
do.
the first book I ever wrote is an adult sci-fi, and the concept was based on something my dad and I used to talk about for years, about how inside your body you would have other universes, and that your universe is just an atom in a giant's body, exactly. So I think they call it the pea people theory. And in my book, I've got this microscope where people can just actually, it can magnify enough that they can see this is happening in the bloodstream of, and I've always felt I don't have enough science for this. This feels really flimsy. But if you're telling me that microscopes exist that can drill into the size of an atom, so I've left it because I know I don't have enough science and I need a science person to help me. And I think you might be that person.
Sure, absolutely.
Yay!
I could talk about this all day.
Oh, that's amazing, because I love this book, but I just know it needs so much more research, and I need a person that understands it that can help me, who's also a writer. So this is perfect.
Sure,
Yay!
sure.
Brilliant.
I
Okay.
to some caveat. I was on the material science side, not so much the
Right.
biology side. So
Yeah.
there's going to be
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
some
fine. I
areas
don't
missing
mind.
from my expertise as
I'm
well.
sure you'll
Okay.
have ideas. That's amazing. Oh, it's like fortuitous that we're doing this now. That's incredible. Okay,
It's great.
carry on. So you did your physics degrees, and then what happened? Yeah.
So then, so during those degrees, I also was teaching a lot, because to me that was more creative than what I was able to do in research. I enjoyed the research, but
Mm.
teaching was much more fulfilling to my creative
Yeah.
side.
Right.
So now I have a full-time job teaching physics
Right.
at
Right.
Arizona State University. So
Amazing.
so the life has kind of leveled out a little bit, and so now
Yeah.
I'm working on my first novel.
Brilliant. Brilliant. And can you tell us about what your first novel's about?
Sure. So I've been
Yeah.
trying to like pare it down because the last time someone asked me that, I talked for like an hour. Um, but
Okay, let's start with your elevator pitch and go from
yeah,
there.
exactly. So my elevator pitch is it's like the imitation game backwards.
Oh,
So most codes, now are just basically zeros and ones.
sure.
So what would to me, that's not very interesting. So what would
Right.
it be like if today there was a
Mm,
code that was based on like actual human expertise? And if,
right.
if you're like, if you've got two of the world's most leading experts in a particular topic, could they talk in a way to each other in a way that
Yeah.
even computers couldn't decipher? Because they could change, just kind of like the Enigma did, they could change the cipher at a
Yeah.
moment's notice and still know what
Yeah.
each other were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. Yeah. I'm just like, yeah. I recently read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Have you read that?
I have not, but I want to.
I think you'll like that. And
Okay.
it reminds me a little bit about what you're saying because so this human who goes to space and makes friends with an alien, um, and they figure out their base way to talk. And the
Oh
alien
wow.
speaks through music, but it's
Oh
all
wow.
mathematical because you can all bring it
Yeah.
back to math.
Yeah.
And it's incredible the way they learn to communicate with each other and solve the problem that they need to solve. So I
That's
think
amazing.
I think you would particularly like this book. Yeah, because it sounds wow, that's incredible. So how is it going? Have you done your first draft? Where are you with it at the moment?
I'm in the process. So I'm
Yeah,
finding that this is a lot different than writing scripts. Um,
yeah,
I
yeah,
a couple of the biggest things, like the story, the story construction is the same, but
yeah,
like it never worked for me before to have page count or word count goals. It always just worked to have
yeah. No,
time goals. But that was when I kind of knew the scope of like how big my story needed to be. I don't really have a concept of how much is 70,000 words. I mean, I do from reading, but it's
yeah,
different.
yeah,
So I'm finding actually that like keeping track of my word count every day actually is helpful. So
yeah,
I'm right now about at 7,000 words, and I'm like, okay, so the story needs to be about 10 times this length,
yeah,
which is good because I think I'm about
yeah,
10% of the way into the story.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I,
and
you know,
just
I
figuring out
feel that
like,
way. That there
yeah,
are so many people that say, no, publishers say, right, well, an 80,000 word story, or an author will say, right, this book is going to be 85,000 words. And I'm like, how do you know that? Because,
yeah,
I mean, I write YA, so typically my books will be somewhere between 70,000 and 90,000, let's say.
okay,
But I don't know. I don't know when I start. I mean, I plot and I have spreadsheets and I have notes, but I have no idea how many words, between in that range a book is going
yeah,
to turn out to be. I could, no accuracy whatsoever. Whereas some people can do it down to the last 1,000 words, and I have no idea how they do that. And I
that's
think,
amazing.
well, I think it's just different approaches. I am very instinctual in the way that I write.
Hmm.
Other people have to be very scientific about it.
Hmm.
And even though I plot and I plan and I use a spreadsheet, I also let the instinct take over when I'm actually writing, and it will be what it will be. And recently, I have a friend who's a film producer who is interested in one of my books, and she said, "Well, I want you to write the script." And
Cool.
I said, okay. So she wants this trilogy as three different series. So I started writing the first episode, and I know that roughly it's a minute per page, and then it shouldn't
Hmm.
be over 60 minutes for an episode.
Right.
Um, and I'm like, so the first one's 69 pages, and I was like, well, I know that some of these pages will be a much shorter than a minute, if it's just
Hmm.
dialogue or whatever. Um, and then she's like, well, what have you got left? And even though I planned out what's going in each episode, I'm like, could be 8, could be 12, could be 16. Just depend. I don't know till I write it.
Right. Right. I'll let you know.
Yeah. So I can't pin myself down to that at all. So yeah, it's funny. But um so what are you finding different between TV writing and book writing?
I think that's the primary thing, and I think because I am a very detailed person, which I think probably
Mm-hmm.
everyone who works in microscopy is, um, but it is much easier in a script because it is so much shorter. Like you said, it's 60
Yeah,
minutes or
yeah,
that to be that detail oriented, and I'm finding it requires for me a lot more faith to just go with that first draft and I
sure.
don't know where this is. I mean, I do know where it's going, but
Yeah,
like I'm not able to go back and edit as much as I'm used to.
as you need to, or are you just waiting until you're done with your first draft?
A little bit of both. So I think
Yeah.
my my strength is in plotting, and character has always been a little bit more difficult for me, which actually I think is one reason why TV writing was so interesting, is because the characters are already there. And I can create scenarios that are interesting for them to have to go through, but creating a character has been always very difficult for me.
So do you mean when you're TV writing, you're writing for an existing show and you know who those
Yes.
characters are? So yeah, okay, got you.
Yeah. So,
Got
so 10 years ago when I was in LA, that's how you broke
you.
into
Yeah,
the business, was
yeah,
write quote unquote spec scripts
right.
of existing shows, which is also why I have nothing to show from it, right? Because I don't own
Yeah,
any of the copyrights to that.
yeah. Mm.
But yeah, so I think so. Some of the things that I have to go back in what I've written is to fill in, like, okay, well, Allison, like, what actually is he feeling right now?
Yeah,
Like you've
yeah,
done a good job explaining like what's
yeah,
happening, but what's happening on the inside. And so I have actually had to go back and do that because I need to know what he's feeling now to know what he's gonna feel later.
yeah, yeah.
But
I
I
get
think with
that
other
from
things,
the other way round, having been a novelist and now writing scripts. And I have a friend who's just done a master in screenwriting.
oh
She
wow,
was looking over the script for me, and she was like, and it makes sense. It's really obvious. She was like pointing out all my newbie mistakes, and that you can't specify on your script what someone's feeling because
right,
unless you can show that, you have to show it on camera.
right,
And you have to let your director and your actors, you know, have their moment. Um,
yeah,
so you can't say that like you would in a novel. In a novel, you get all your internal monologue. You don't get
yeah,
that in a
right,
script. And I think for me, those are the major differences. Trying to pare down those things
oh right,
and those internal rants that I write. Whereas
yeah,
for you, you have to add all that stuff.
yes,
Yeah, it's a
yeah, that
different,
makes perfect sense.
yeah, different discipline. So yeah. And will you continue to write TV stuff, or is that closed
I
for
think
now?
so.
Or yeah, you will. Yeah, yeah,
So I think, I mean, on a much smaller scale, I mean, I had no way of knowing this, but in the 10 years since I've been gone, the world has changed, and it's become so much easier to just make a web series on your own or do stuff like that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I plan to do some independent stuff. I just feel really lucky to be alive in the time that I'm alive,
yeah, yeah.
that I can kind of have both careers.
Absolutely. And I think the whole writing world, whether you're a screenwriter or a novelist, is changing.
Yes,
Suddenly, there are so many more doors open, and
yes,
if you want to go trad, you can go trad, but you have all these opportunities. And you see authors on Book Talk being picked up with seven-figure deals from being an indie author, and that is a success for all of us. It shows
right,
that it happens, and or whether they're picked up or not, but they are becoming bestsellers. It's amazing to see that, and that you don't have to go down one path to be published. That there are so many avenues open to you. What
yes,
I found really interesting, I recently joined an organization called Scribe Lounge. It's a UK thing, so
okay,
a screenplay writers group, and
oh cool,
the difference. So I have an agent for my books, and when you write a novel, you query an agent, they sell the book. You don't have any credits under your name. You don't have to have done any courses. You don't have to have got qualifications. That's what you do. Whereas in the film world, agents want to see what you've done or what your credits are or what before you can actually get the agent. And I'm like, well, how do you do that
Right.
before I'm like, so it's a whole totally opposite, it's the upside down to what I'm used to. Yeah, I've no idea how that works, but and how have you found? Did you try to or have well, you haven't finished your book yet, but
Right.
are you intending to find an agent? Are you wanting to self-publish? What do you want to do?
Yeah, I intend to self-publish. I want to keep all my
Yeah,
rights
yeah,
and make the money.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think my personal opinion is that unless you're with a big publisher who has a big marketing budget and can get you everywhere, I've had experience with smaller presses and they've done nothing for me. So I would rather keep those rights myself and keep those royalties. So I completely agree with you. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah.
Have you
So
been able to? Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead.
Have you been able to get your rights back from smaller presses? I've heard of
I
people doing
have.
that too.
So I had initially three of my books were with smaller publishers. Two of them, so one of them, it was a first time publisher. There was me and another book, and it was a trial new company. And I really liked the editor. She really made the book. She pulled so much out of me. It was incredible.
That's awesome.
And then after that, she decided she wasn't going to carry on. So we got our rights back, and I was able to resell publish that.
Cool.
One of my other books was also with a small press. There were other authors there. Even though I had done my research and spoken to other authors and everyone was happy, blah blah blah, they were not good. So things went down and we all got our rights back. So I self-published that book.
Cool.
And then I have the first of another series of a book that I'm not entirely happy with. Just lack of market, lack of everything, really. So once the time has come for me to get my rights back, I will self-publish that, and I am publishing the rest of the series on my own. So that's fine. But then I'm also going out on sub with my agent. So I'm one of those hybrid kind of people.
Yeah.
Well, we've been out on sub with my middle grade novel. We're about to go out on sub with my young adult novel. So, I like to have all my fingers in the pie. So
Sure. Yeah.
so we'll see. We'll see. But it's not easy to get an agent. And post-pandemic, waiting times and slush piles are bigger and longer. So,
wow.
I can understand people not wanting to wait around for that. I mean, it's hard. It's such a tough process. It really is. It's horrible. So just the emotion that goes into that is a lot. Yeah. So yeah, it's, for me, I don't regret anything. It's taught me how to self-publish, and it's taught me the ropes, and it's taught me what I do know and what I don't know and what I do like and what not to do. So I appreciate all those things that I've learned. And then, who knows what happens in the future. So we just keep trying. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So you said from an early age that you wanted to be a physician and a novelist.
Yes.
Did that thought come at the same time, or did one of those dreams come first?
I have no idea. They both came before my memories kick in.
Wow. That's incredible. That is incredible. Wow. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I like in that too, we have a friend of the family who is 13 and he's joined the police cadets here. But from the time he was 2, he had police Lego and he had the police hat and he had the handcuffs, and he's always known he wants to be a policeman. That is his life.
Yeah.
And some people just know. Some people just have that. I think it's incredible. And some people think they have it. And then I discovered writing, in my late 20s, early 30s, and you never know. You never know.
So I was gonna say I was wrong. So
yeah. Well, it's not wrong. It's just you make a decision. You make the best decision you can at the time, and then you make a new decision and a new decision, and it's progress. Rather than absolutely. Where would you see yourself in 5 years' time with your writing? What would you be hopeful for?
I would be hopeful for just more books, I think. I think I'm a very slow writer, and I'm assuming that's going to improve as I just have more experience. But I really like to think about things, and I don't necessarily see myself as like the kind of person who's going to publish like 2 books a year or 3 books a year. I mean, I don't even think that's feasible given
Yeah.
my other job.
Yeah.
But even if it, but I think that's part of the reason why I like having another job is
Mm.
there's something else to focus on, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
that's
That can help.
that I'm fortunate enough that it's meaningful also.
Yeah. Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It is getting meaning from something, and I think you've got more than one thing in your life that is bringing that to you, and that I mean that's wonderful to have that. So yeah, amazing, amazing. So do you have ideas beyond this first book, or is this first book part of a
Yes.
series? Yeah, you do. So you're
No,
bubbling away.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's gonna. I think. I mean, I think it's gonna be standalone. But I find really interesting is I would really like to write a series where the main character, maybe even more, because I think this one's more of a thriller. But I would like to might write even more like on the mystery side, where the detective. All I know right now is like the detective has chronic illness, and it's not their superpower, and it's also not the thing that gets in the way of them solving the crime
Okay.
all the time. Like it's not a plot
Okay.
device; it's just real.
Right. It's just who
And
they are. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly, but of course, then that complicates things. If it's not a plot device, then what is the plot? But
Well, it's either that it could help and hinder. And I think
yeah,
as long as you had a balance to that, that would be great. Because it's real life, and
yeah,
those conditions do help and hinder. It
yes,
gives you increased empathy, it gives you all sorts of things, but it also actually gets in the way sometimes.
yes,
So I think as long as you deal with that in a balance, it can absolutely give you that conflict that you might need. And it's refreshing to see a detective that maybe is not an alcoholic or having an
right,
affair or is divorced. It would
right,
be nice to see some new tropes and new crutches, I guess, or new
yeah,
that aren't the same old stuff, or Pepto Bismol in the whiskey. So
right.
yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean,
Or
we
they
all
deal
love
with it the
them.
way,
Yeah,
yeah, or they deal with it
but we
like
need
House
some new
deals with it
stuff.
as just mean, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Oh, how fun. So you mentioned a little bit about plotting. Can you talk me through your process and how you approach your plotting for your novel? Yeah.
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 So this is actually the same as I did for scripts. So when I was, and I think if I had actually gotten on a TV show, so I was in a training program called Act One, and if you're actually on a TV show, you go through this very specific process of outlining. First there's writers in a room, and then you
Yeah.
outline very specifically, and then you have a treatment and blah blah blah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I'm just on my own, what I prefer to do is just when ideas come to me, I will write that scene, or I'll write that snippet of that scene,
Yeah.
and that's a lot easier to do in a 120-page script, because you can be like, oh, this is like 3/4 of the way through,
Yeah.
and put it in
Yeah.
there.
You can find it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
but I've done the same thing here, and I just have a list of files, and I
Right.
kind of and the file names are like when he does this, and
Right. I love it. I love it.
so
That's
I
great.
do that until I feel like I have some kind of structure, and then I
Yeah.
start at the beginning and go all the way
Right.
through.
I wonder, I mean, do you use any software for your novel writing?
Just Word.
Yeah, I wonder if you'd be one of those that would benefit from something like Scrivener or Plotter, because you can, like Final Draft, um, you can look at things through your scene headings, or these other programs do that, and you would be able to put them in an order and just click on what you need, move it around. So you sound like the kind of person that would benefit from that. But you know we all find our way into, I'm a Word person
Yeah.
as well. I generally just use Word and lots of post-its, and a spreadsheet, a master spreadsheet. But you find, and I discover new tools all the time through other writers, and it's fun to play around, and think, British Books has just said Scrivener, yay. Yeah, I did not like Scrivener. I found it dense. But Plotter is a visual. It's almost like a colors, graphs, I really, really liked that. So there's lots of these things out there, and I think it's about finding the right thing for you and your process. But also, as you grow as a writer,
Yeah.
different things mean different at different times. It's like
Sure.
there is a plethora of craft books that you can buy, and I remember buying the Donald Mass, just the truth of emotional fiction or something like that. And he's one of the big heads of the big agencies in New York. And I remember sitting it on my bedside for about a year, thinking, I'm not ready for this book yet. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And then there was a moment when I felt I was ready. And
Wow.
it's like all those times. There are times when you're not ready for something, and then you think,
Yeah.
actually, I am. I'm now ready to take that in and see what I can do with it. So who knows if it's helped, but I like to think maybe. But
that is amazing
yeah,
that you had that intuition to know even before you read it that
yeah,
like this is the time when this advice is going to
yeah.
help me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a really close writing friend who just reads. He's a real technical writer. He doesn't feel like he's got any intuition, so he reads every single book that there is, and he will recommend the good ones. And the ones that appeal to me, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna put that aside and then read it when I can. And I've had other books recommended to me, and they have different uses. It depends on what you need them for. But did you find that so in your screenwriting days? Did you have craft books that you refer to? I mean, did you use Save the Cat? Did you have things that you lent on? Yeah, yeah.
Sure, I did.
And
Sorry.
no,
Finish.
no, no, go.
Oh, okay.
No, I was finished. I'm just gonna wait for you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, so I have been studying the craft, for again, also for as long as I can remember, but like you, I think I didn't have the intuition to know beforehand which books were going to help me, but I would say absolutely that the books that I would call the best are not necessarily the best objectively. They're just the books that had
Yeah.
the advice that I needed at that time.
Yes. Absolutely.
But yeah, have you just in terms of like formatting, although Final Draft does most of
Hmm.
it for you, there's a book called I think it's called The Hollywood Standard. It's by
Right.
Chris Riley, who
Okay.
was one of my instructors there, and it is the standard on like how to format everything. So it's not so much a writing
Write that
thing, but
down.
like yeah, but like here's exactly what your scene headings should, the information that should be
Yes.
in each part of things.
This was one of the things my friend would say to me, like, you need a dot after this, or you don't need a
Yeah.
dash there to explain. I was like, my God, that's like really specific, but okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, luckily Final Draft does a lot of that for you, but
It does.
there are ways that people prefer to see things. And it's good to know that, just like when you're
Yeah, for sure.
formatting. Brett says he's learning so much. Glad I joined this chat. We are glad to have
Oh,
you.
good.
Yeah, and that's what we're here for. We love to talk bookish things and anything that can help our fellow authors. And do you find that you are now reading books on writing novels as well to help you? Or do you feel like you've had enough from your screenwriting days to give you what you need?
I read. I mean, when I still thought I was going to write novels, I read
Yeah,
books on that as well.
yeah,
So I will still. I mean, absolutely. I still want to read, and there's always more things to learn. But I would say it's not like a huge priority. Like if
yeah,
something comes along that I'm like, oh, that looks interesting, I'll read it. But
yeah.
I feel like I'm kind of okay for where I am right now.
Good. I feel that way too sometimes. I will order two or three books and I think I'm going to read them between like resting my manuscript and then I'm on something else. And I'm much happier when I'm writing and I feel like I'm progressing more when I do that rather than sitting
Yeah.
down with a craft book. Um, so I should probably read them more than I do, but I also don't take them too seriously.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it just
That
depends on what you need or not,
for
or how
sure.
you want to do it.
Yeah.
Method. Brett says method. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do
I
think
like
that
to
too
think,
is
yeah, no, I was just going to
yep.
say, I like to think I write perfect first drafts. And this is
Right.
what I tell all my friends because then it's
Yes.
easier for me just to, it's just easier for me to say that. It's not true. So, yeah,
Yeah.
method.
I don't need
There we go.
anything. I,
No.
No, but I do think like taking advice with a grain of salt is good too. You know, I
Yes.
feel like there's so much out there that's like, if you don't do this, you're not a writer, and if you don't do this, you're not a writer. And I've just kind of learned to, I kind of reframe advice in terms of like saying, okay, well,
Yeah.
like, because people, you know, even like on TikTok, it's like, well, if you don't do it 2 times a day, then don't even do it
Yeah.
at all. And I'm like, I don't really think that,
Yeah.
but like, maybe what they're
Yeah.
saying is like, don't have expectations up here if you're just going to do
Yeah.
this. So I don't know. I just kind of
Yeah.
reframe advice into expectations.
I totally agree with you. I think you've hit on one of the really important things that's going on. And before I came to TikTok, I was on Twitter mostly, and there was so much advice. Actually, it wasn't until I joined Twitter that I started to grow as an author because I was writing in a
Oh wow.
vacuum. And I met my author friends, and I got advice on, I would enter a competition and get feedback, or I would get recommended a craft book and read a bit of that, and then I started to realize how I can improve.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now there's so much advice, whether it's on Twitter or TikTok or YouTube or tutorials or classes, and some of them are $5 and some of them are $1,000. And where do you
Mm-hmm.
start as a new author?
Mm-hmm.
It's overwhelming, and I can
Mm-hmm.
understand why you get people on TikTok saying, "I want to write a book, but I don't know how to start," because there's all this information.
Yeah.
And at that point, I don't think people have developed their instinct into what's going to suit them and what's not. And I
Mm-hmm.
think 99% of people are well meaning with their advice. And I used to do a lot of right tips on TikTok, and I stopped because I felt, well, I started to do a lot of right tips, and then I changed it to, this is what works for me.
Yes.
Why don't you try it?
Yeah.
If that's not working for you, you could try this. Because I would never want to be prescriptive and say,
Yeah.
you have to do it this way, you don't have to do it this way, because everyone's got a different way of doing things.
Yeah.
Um, Brett, sorry, I'm just laughing at a comment from Brett who says, "Don't think outside the box. Just forget the box and write the story the way you want." And
There
I
you go.
totally agree. Brett, I read all these craft books and I make notes about structure and how things should be. But when I get down to actually writing, I just let it go. I just let it come out. I don't think about the theory and all that kind of stuff. You don't ever want to be stunted. You don't ever want to be in that frozen moment. And I think this is what people call writer's block. Just frozen by that indecision of knowing what advice to take. And really, you just need to shut all that out and listen to your gut and what your gut's telling you to do. Because I think there's just so much out there that can be totally overwhelming. So it's hard as a new author, I think.
And I would say
Knowing
it's
where
from the
to start.
perspective of like a researcher, admittedly a scientific
Yeah,
researcher, but like it's kind of the same principle of like when you kind of know, like when you're reading scientific journal articles, because again, there's so much,
yeah,
like you kind of start to know when to stop when you start reading the same thing over and over. And so I
yeah,
think when you get to the point in writing where you've read enough advice books that pretty much there's not a whole lot new
yeah,
that is being taught to
yeah,
you, then I think,
yeah,
and that's kind of
yeah,
where I am.
yeah.
And it's not to say that I can't
Yeah,
learn more, but it is to say that maybe that's not how I should be spending the bulk of my
yeah.
time.
And I think there are writing books. Some are more basic, some are more experienced. There
Yeah.
are a few basic books where I will go, yeah, well, I do that, I do that, I do that. I don't need that one anymore. Let me move
Yeah.
on to the next level. And that's
Yeah.
how you start leveling up. It's just by
Yeah.
going through these stages and learning. And there's so many ways to learn, whether it's from a book, whether it's from other
Yes.
authors, whether it's all of that. So totally, totally agree with you on that. Yeah, nail on the head there. That's so when you publish your book, do you have a time frame in mind, or are you just seeing how it goes?
Okay, so I do have a time frame in mind, but I'm not meeting that time frame, so I don't know what's going to
Okay.
happen. My plan was to be like, I'm going to take the summer off and I'm going to like whip out that first drafts. And
Yeah.
I don't know why I had in my head that I was taking the summer off because I'm still teaching, so it's not really off.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like mid-June and I'm only 7,000 words in, so I don't know that I'm going to finish a draft this summer. But tentatively, I had hoped to publish next summer
Yeah.
because
Okay.
I wanted to get it edited in the fall and then start marketing in the spring and then publish in the
Okay.
summer. We'll see
So
whether that actually
that's
happens.
yeah. I mean, I think it all depends on if you're self-motivated and it's just a time question, that's one thing. Whereas if you're a procrastinator and you need accountability, that's another thing. And there are groups and people for that. So it all depends on what kind of writer you are. But you mentioned marketing, and that was going to be my next question. Do you have a plan for how you want to go about marketing your book?
Yes. So it's called Cipher. So I've got daily like puzzles, like cipher puzzles that people can solve. And I was going to put them on Instagram because in Instagram you have to swipe. So I was going to have the puzzle on the first picture, and then you have to, the answer in the last picture. And then to get to the answer, you have to swipe through an ad for my book. So that's one idea.
That is one of the best ideas I have heard. That is incredible.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
That is, I mean, it's so fitting for your book. It's original. So are you going to do like one a week? You know, how often are you going to do these leading up to your release, you know?
So I've got about 100 prepared. I'd really like to have it one every day.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to last.
Oh, that's incredible. But I need to go and find your Instagram account because I am here for that. Along with my daily Wordle, I'll be doing my daily Cipher.
I know Wordle was a blessing. I was like, yes, people are already into word games.
Yes, it's perfect. It's so clever and it's so fitting for what's popular today. And these are the kind of marketing things that really help a book when you've come up with something that the public are crying out for, that has everything to do with your book. You know, hats off to you. You've really, that's incredible.
Thank you.
That is really incredible. Yeah, that's great.
I hope it will work.
Yeah. So do you think you'll be sticking to social media, or will you try doing any kind of ads, or have you thought that far down the line yet?
Yeah, so I want to, I don't want to put, whatever marketing budget I have, I want it to go to actual humans. I mean, all money I realize goes to actual humans, but like small business humans, like, if I need to hire an actor for a trailer or to make a trailer, or if I need to hire a graphic designer because I have no skills in that area, things like that. I would rather my marketing budget go to that than to go to lining more of, Zuckerberg's pockets or whoever.
Yeah. I think it's
marketing.
Yeah, I think as when you're an author, I mean, there's a range of budgets that you can publish your book for, and a range of monies that you can spend. And I think it's important to do the research. And I didn't really do this at the time because I was getting my rights back and putting it back up. So I was kind of like, woo, just throw it back up there, But I think, if you're coming at it, think about all the different places you can spend your money. Try to ask around what people have found most valuable and look at their genre, look at that, and then decide where you're going to put your money and decide what's going to be the most. So we've got a request, Alison. Can you tell us your Insta just for people watching so that they know they can go and follow you? Yeah.
Yes. I will say I haven't started putting up the daily ciphers yet, but it's at Cipher Novel. CIPHER.
Okay, at Cipher Novel.
Novel.
I'm going to write that down as well. Cipher. So at Cipher Novel, you heard it here first. Yeah, that's where we're going to be hanging out. Before long. Comparing, did you do your cipher today? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So,
I do want to also say that, like, I know that I'm coming at this from a place of privilege because I don't have to make my living selling this book.
Yes.
So when I say I don't want to put money into ads, I'm not trying to discourage anyone else from doing that. It's
no, sure.
I want to be able to use my privilege to kind of make some kind of teeny tiny.
You're very respectful when it comes to things like that, and I think, and I wouldn't call it privilege because you do have another full-time job, so you are doing this on the side,
it's a job I love.
And that is incredibly hard work. So do pat yourself on the back for that, because many people have these ideas or start and aren't, life gets in the way. So absolutely, very few people make $1 million from writing, that's for sure.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Unfortunately. Boo-hoo. JK Rowling, love me please. Yeah.
I know.
So what does literary success look like to you? Mhm.
this is something that I struggle with. So I struggle with getting validation from other people, and I'm really even in the process of working on like making that internal, and all the self acceptance and stuff. So I think that if I put out a book that I am proud of, that's what literary success would look like. Not necessarily
Okay.
financial success or marketing
Yeah.
success, but
Yeah. And it's funny how you separate those out because in some ways they're all bundled into one.
yeah,
But in other ways you can separate those out to be very different things. Um, and I don't, you've made me really think about that. I hadn't done that in my head before. I hadn't separated those things out before, but I think you're right to do so because some of those things we have control of and some of those things we don't. So to feel disappointed by a particular level that you haven't got control over, you can only do what you can do. You can only control the things that you can control. So I like the way you said that. That's really good. Lovely. Yay.
I mean, when my book comes out, I might be telling a different story because I
Yeah.
know, like, even when student evaluations come out, I'm like, what did they say?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
No, well, this is it. I think, when you have your first book out and you start looking at your review pages every day, and then, you do, the novelty does wear off, especially when you get that first 1-star review or something. You think, I'm not looking there again. So, but I think for me, I think with bad reviews anyway, it really helps to go and look at my favorite books and look at their 1-star reviews, because I think if somebody can diss my favorite book of all time and give them a 1-star review, then you can shrug it off and you can realize that it's just subjective. All these things are. So
that's great. I was just going to ask you how you dealt with bad reviews.
Yeah, that's how I deal with it basically. And I also
That's
have
awesome.
some really close writer friends, and so we have a private message board on Twitter, and we are really close. We chat every day, sometimes all day, and we really support each other with the good times and the bad times. But when we were all querying agents and all sorts of things, if anybody got a rejection, we would send a fart gif, and it was a competition who could find the most inventive or the newest fart gif ever, and it just kind of made us all giggle. So it took the sting out of it, and we all joined in, and it's just a thing that we've always done, and it sounds ridiculous.
It sounds perfection.
It defines us to a T. So that's who we are.
That's amazing.
Brett says, "Are you even an author if you don't have a 1-star review?" And actually, Brett, right. you happen on a good point here, because if you go and look at books and you look at a book that has only 5-star reviews, people are suspicious of that, because that never happens. You can't have one book that appeals to everybody. So really, you would expect to have a smattering across the board. Otherwise, people do get suspicious about you've just gotten all your family and friends and paid people to give you 5-star reviews. So that's a good point. Okay.
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. We're going to give you our quick fire round of fun questions as we're coming up to our hour. Right.
Okay.
Do you have an animal that you feel would best represent who you are, or a mascot animal?
So I love penguins, and I think that I would choose them because they're kind of awkward on land, and but when they really get into their element, then it's really beautiful, and I feel kind of that same way.
I feel like you've thought about this, and I think
I have.
That's
I've watched a lot of your replays.
Yeah. I feel like that's a beautiful answer, and we haven't had a penguin on the show before, and I feel like maybe you're attracted to them because you live in a hot place as well, and you might want like a cool animal.
Probably true. Yeah.
But I love how you worded that. I think you're so right. I love that a lot. I'm going to remember that for a long time. Okay, if you could only eat one meal and drink one drink for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
I've thought about this answer too. So I only drink water already.
Okay.
But I think
hot
for
or
food,
cold or both?
Usually room temp.
Hot, cold, or both?
Unless I'm like outside in 115 degrees, then I'm gonna put ice in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
But I think for the food, I think like I wouldn't choose my favorite food because if you eat something for the rest of your life, you're going to get sick of it. So I would choose something really nutritious, some kind of superfood that
Ah,
grew locally. Yeah, I would choose that because I'm going to hate
yeah.
it in a week anyway. So it should be nutritious.
I get your thinking. Yeah, I'm not going nutritious. I'm going ice cream or, yeah. There's an infinite different flavors of ice cream, so I'll
Oh,
just try
that's
different
true.
ones every day. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fair. That's fair.
yeah. That's my theory. But you have fun with your vegetables. That's funny, Alison. Um, okay, what is your favorite color?
Blue.
Blue. Me too. Yay.
Oh,
Yay. I do. I
why?
like a blue. I like different blues.
Yeah.
I love an aqua blue and I love a Caribbean sea blue. And I love that sky blue. You probably get a lot of this in Arizona,
Yes.
where there's no clouds, but you
Yes.
can feel like if you stare at the sky, you can see like pinpricks of black space coming through the sky. I don't know if that makes any sense,
Yeah.
but to me, I always feel I can feel space hovering, the darkness of space hovering
Wow.
beyond that blue. Um,
Wow.
and it just makes me think of possibility, I guess.
That's
So
awesome.
blue, blue. Oh, Brett's decided he's going to eat cake. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Brett.
Okay.
Sweet stuff.
There's
Because
different
again,
flavors of cake.
cake flavors. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, okay. Have you got any pets?
I don't. I have allergies instead.
Oh, what a bummer. We could send you a teddy bear. Are you right with teddy
Yeah.
bears?
I
Yeah,
suppose I could have a fish,
a
but I
fish.
don't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Are you a Marvel or a DC fan?
Neither. I'm gonna lose all my followers.
I've only ever had one person say neither before.
Uh-oh.
So tell me why you don't like them.
You know, I'm not. I can't really articulate because I don't really know why. I just can't handle it. Like,
Okay.
I even tried. Like, I thought Black Panther is such an important movie. I need to watch
Yeah.
this. Like, I got Disney Plus, and I was like, I have to watch this, and I was only able to get like 10 minutes into it. Like, I just don't like those kinds of
Not for
movies.
you. Yeah.
And yeah, and I don't really know why.
Do you understand the difference between Marvel and DC? Can you
No,
from no. Um
I did until you just asked me that question. I didn't know there was a difference other than like the brand name.
yeah, I mean for me, DC is older, it's grittier, it's
Right.
dark, it's slower, it's more emotional. Whereas Marvel is more of your blockbuster action one-liner kind of movie.
Then I
For
choose
me,
DC.
that's the difference. Yeah. Oh, okay. I don't know. I'm a Marvel girl. Now, I think I've missold Marvel there. I'm not saying there's no depth in
Okay.
a Marvel movie. I think DC is too slow.
Okay.
I think when you think superheroes, so you think Superman, Batman, Aquaman, Flash. He's DC, isn't he? Yeah. Um, you think hero action, boom, boom, but that doesn't happen in DC. It's more about the emotional arc. Whereas with the Marvel, you have the action, but you have the arc as well. And for me, I
Gotcha.
prefer that. But people have their different. We'll fight it out another time. That's fine. So, do you have a favorite dinosaur? Yeah.
I like. I mean, I think they're kind of. I think they're cool in general. I haven't, studied them very much, but I mean,
Yeah.
what I know of them is from Jurassic Park and
Yeah.
from being a kid. I like the one
Yeah.
that has the long neck and eats all the trees.
Oh, the Diplodocus. Diplodocus,
Okay.
probably. That's my favorite. I
It's the one.
felt
It's the one where in Jurassic Park, like where they're in the jeep, and it's the first time they see
yeah.
a dinosaur, and like the camera pans upward. That one.
Yeah, I think that's probably either the Diplodocus or the Brachiosaurus, which both have those long necks.
Okay.
I added this question in after a few interviews ago. Derek Bourne, who is an author on BookTok, and he's written a book called Dino Rift. It's a sci-fi.
I think I saw that interview.
Yeah.
That sounds so
So,
cool.
and I kind of feel like everybody in their youth had had a favorite dinosaur. So I want to I want to know what that is. It's fun. Yeah.
It
I'm
is
with
cool.
you. I like the long necks. I'm there. The gentle giants.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about a favorite Christmas movie?
Ooh,
Hmm.
that's a good question. I guess maybe Home Alone, probably.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Yeah,
Funny. Yeah.
I watched it a lot growing up.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did too. I hate to think how old Macaulay Culkin is now or what he's doing,
I
but
know.
he will always be a little boy to me.
Exactly. Doing.
Yeah. Bless him. All right. What three books would you take to a desert island?
I've given this some thought as well, and I think
Okay.
that I would take, at least for one of them, I would take a physics book in a different language because the equations would make me happy, the math would make me happy, and then it might, because I kind of know, because I know what it's supposed to be saying, it might
Yeah.
help me figure out
The
how to
language.
speak, yeah, or at least how to read the language, but it would take a lot of
Yeah.
time, so it would keep my mind occupied.
That's clever. I like that. I like the idea of taking a different language. I'd never thought of that. Um, I like that. Furthering your mind, even when you're, starving.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Okay.
not a good idea because it's going to
Yeah.
use a lot of
Who knows?
energy.
I guess it depends on where you are.
And how long am I stranded there?
Well, we play this game with my kids sometimes where we say you're going to be stranded on an island, but you're allowed to take three things from home. What are they? And of course, inevitably we get my iPad or my laptop or
Right.
and I'm like, no, you've got to think practically here. So we'll get an axe or a
That'll
bit of
last you
rope,
3 hours.
but then it goes, I'll take the entire internet or a library of books, or it gets very outlandish. So, right, what are your other two books?
Oh, I know, and I couldn't really narrow down. It's hard to say. I think that I would probably take. I would have one of them would be fiction, probably that I haven't read yet. Just
Mm,
maybe something light,
yeah, yeah,
maybe like a rom com or something.
yeah.
And this feels silly, but I feel like the other one should be some sort of survival guide.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that's silly.
Okay.
I actually have a book that's called How to Do a Little Bit About Nearly Everything. So it's half
Hmm.
a page on how to tie a tourniquet, how to hunt a
Oh
pig, how
wow.
to grow, how to get rid
Yeah.
of a pesticide, how to put up a shelf.
Huh. That's cool.
It's a great book.
How
It's
big
a
is the
great
book?
book. It's a hardback. It's about, yeah. So
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
taking that. Yeah. Now that you said that, I'm taking that with me. I'm going to revise my previous answers. I like that. And I agree with you about the rom com. I don't read a lot of rom com.
I don't either.
I like romance as a subplot rather than the main plot normally, but I think it would be the perfect thing for that light relief and just not having to think too hard or worry. Yeah, I think something funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Your last and final question.
Okay.
Have you got any talents that would help you survive the Hunger Games?
So if I have any followers left after I said I don't like DC or Marvel, they're all going to leave me now because I have not read nor seen The Hunger Games. but but I feel confident saying no.
Mm-hmm.
I'm immunocompromised, and my immune system does its best. But one thing it's actually kind of comforting is that like if anything like that actually did happen, I would not last long into the suffering. I would just be
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm the same. Yeah, I can't do parkour. I can't even run very fast. I can swim. I can swim. So Hunger Games 2, where there is water, I could deal with that. Um, I can't even identify what's poisonous and what's not. The plant life,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
not really sure. I feel like physics should help me, but I mean, I don't think I'm going to
yeah.
be dealing with electron microscopes in the Hunger Games.
Well, do you know, it's funny you say that because in the second film, um, there is basically they've got hidden mines, hidden bombs underneath this circle of ocean, and there is a physicist,
Oh,
and he is able to unearth these mines, connect them to this main tree that gets a lightning strike in it, and blow up the whole arena. So you would,
okay,
you,
maybe.
you, you. I think you might actually be all right. Yeah, Yeah.
That could work. It would have to
Right.
be the right situation where
Yeah.
physics actually came in like
Yeah.
useful in a particular, yeah, in something
Right.
like that.
Hunger Games
That could
2
work.
is your movie. That's
Okay.
your movie. Yeah, that one. You're good. Right,
I have a lot
Hannah.
of assignments after this.
Yeah. That's good. I'm going to love you and leave you, but I have enjoyed talking to you all about you and your journey and your forthcoming book. I cannot wait to hear more about the process and how it's going. I hope that you write like the wind and get the words out that you want to get out. I really do, because I cannot wait to start seeing your cipher codes on Instagram. That's going to be so much fun. That really is. So I will let you go on about your evening, and I would love to have you back when the book is coming out or near
Great.
to, and we can do a little promo, a little launch for you, and maybe even do one of our ciphers on the show.
Oh, there we
That
go.
would be really fun, wouldn't
Yes.
it?
That would be
So
awesome.
yeah, let's definitely do that. And until then, I will talk to you behind the scenes
All
and
right.
chat with you. Yeah,
Thank,
absolutely.
thank you so
It's been
much.
a
I
pleasure.
really wanted to say it's really kind of you to have someone on here who doesn't even have a book published yet, and I really appreciate it.
Do you know, my aim of doing this is just really to engage with writers, readers, editors, book covers, whoever you are as part of that world. And I don't care whether people are unpublished or published, or we're just here to talk about the joy of writing and the process and helping each other and learning from each other. And that's always been my mission. So, we're all at different
Well,
stages.
you're
I
doing it.
think
Well done.
I thank you. I think that's the beauty. The beauty of the whole thing is the fact that we are at all different stages, and the person who's just starting out below you might end up having the bestseller tomorrow, and you never know these things. So I think it's important to be kind and inclusive, and I love to get to know people and chat as much as possible. So thank you for saying that, though. I appreciate it. That's good. Right.
Well,
Okay. Until then, I will let you go, and we will talk some more in the future. And I can't wait to hear more. That's great.
great. Thank
Yay.
you.
Right. Take care.
Bye. You too.
Bye. Was the amazing Allison Boley. What a lovely treasure she is, and it's so, so bright. I'm a little bit jealous of her brains and her ability to do physics and hard stuff and small stuff. Her book Cipher is hopefully going to be coming out next summer, and do look out for those Instagram daily puzzles. This is going to be even more popular than Wordle. I cannot wait to start doing that. I might have to ask her to release a few early, just so that I can start having some fun. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for this book. It's going to be incredible. I can feel it. So remember, if you would like to be the star of the show, whether you're published or unpublished, or you're an editor, or you're a book cover artist, or an illustrator, whoever you are, do come and click the link in my bio and sign up to my Google form, because I would love to have you and I would love to chat to you. And until next time, next week, my next live is on Wednesday. So I hope to see you then. And until then, take it easy.